Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins on the islands of ancient feudal Japan during a time of witches and all manner of magical creatures. The lands ruled by the shogun, whose greatest warriors, the samurai, would become outcasts called ronins if they ever failed their master's orders. Our story begins with a half-breed boy running through the trees before collapsing face first into a creek. He's found by a young samurai Oishi, who, noticing claw marks on the boy's head, attempts to kill him, but Lord Asano prevents him. Despite being told that he's a demon by everyone else, Asano raises Kai in their village of Ako, where he develops a relationship with the Lord's daughter Mika. Years later, Kai tracks a giant beast that's terrorizing the village, but Oishi doesn't heed his warnings and takes the samurai straight to its lair. The mythological Kirin suddenly comes barreling through the trees, knocking warriors flying and dragging horses by its tendrils. The samurai Yasuno's knocked from his horse, but when the returning Kirin charges the downed warrior, Kai picks up his sword and plunges it into the beast's heart. It collapses dead, but when returning his sword, Yasuno says that he would have rather have died than be protected by a half-breed. He then takes all the credit for slaying the monster, as Oishi cuts off a piece of the antler as a trophy for his master, but notices the creature's blood on Kai's hands and deduces quietly what actually happened. A shape-shifting witch named Mizuki has been watching in the form of a kitsune until Kai spots the animal, but he doesn't think much of it. She runs to her master, the rival Lord Kira, to tell him that their Kirin has failed to kill Lord Asano and they must try to assassinate him another way. When the samurai return from their hunt, Mika's excited to see Kai even more than her father and finds him in his small hovel on the edge of the village. She tends to wounds on his back from being dragged by the Kirin and says that she saw the shame in Yasuno's eyes upon his return. Questioning why Kai didn't say anything, he says that he already owes so much to the samurai, so he just lets them push him around. He then sends Mika away despite both of them loving each other, as he knows they can't be together because he's not of royal blood. The next night, another clan visits Ako in preparation for the arrival of the shogun and Kira for a grand tournament. Kai recognizes Mizuki by her heterochromia and reports a setup to Oishi, but he dismisses the claim that the half-breed could be capable of spotting a witch. When the rival lord arrives with his soldiers, he hits on Mika and disrespects Asano while pretending like he didn't just try to assassinate him. The shogun expects to see a duel between the oversized Lovecraftian samurai from Kira's side and Yasuno, who earned the right to fight after slaying the beast. To sabotage the tournament, Mizuki bewitches the challenger, who's found by Oishi's son Chikara crippled beyond repair. Since only samurai can compete in the duel, Kai dons Yasuno's armor to disguise his identity and maintain his lord's honor. The two fight and Kai even looks to be on the winning side if only the opponent wasn't so durable, but his sword shatters on the giant's armor. He's defeated when his mask flies off, revealing his identity to the shogun, who shouts for the Lovecraftian samurai to halt. Able to tell that he's not a samurai, he demands that he be executed on the spot, but Mika throws herself between him and the blade to save his life. Her father accepts the blame on himself, so the shogun orders Oishi to at least have his half-breed beaten by his own friends like Basho, who apologizes while doing the deed. That night, Mizuki conjures up a spider that she sneaks into her host's bedroom and releases onto Asano's face while he's sleeping. It dispenses a liquid onto his mouth that causes him to run to Kira's bedchambers and attempt to kill him before being restrained. His milky eyes give him away as being bewitched to Oishi, but the shogun doesn't see that and sentences Asano to death for trying to attack a guest. He's allowed to commit seppuku so that he may die honorably, and cuts into his belly with a dagger before Oishi beheads the man who raised him. The shogun declares that Ako will be owned by Lord Kira, and after a year-long mourning period for her father, he'll wed Mika to unite the clans. The samurai are now declared ronin, as they're without a master, and the shogun orders them not to seek vengeance for Asano's death. Kai gets sold into slavery before the ronin are banished from the village, except for Oishi, who's thrown into a pit out of Kira's fear that he might retaliate. A year later, Oishi gets pulled out and thrown into the street to be brought home by his family, as they must think he's learned his lesson. Once he's recovered, he immediately tells his wife Riku to make everyone believe she divorced him to protect herself, then goes searching for Kai. He visits a Dutch slave port where the foreman directs him to the only half-breed around who's currently having a battle in the pits. Kai's made to fight a large computer-generated oaf who's unable to land a single blow and gets decapitated by the tiny man. The bloodthirsty crowd cheers for the victor, but when Oishi approaches to talk to Kai, he just assumes he's another fighter and the two duel. When Kai realizes who he's fighting, he still doesn't stop, as the last time he saw Oishi he was kneeling before their master's killer. He only halts when told that Mika needs his help to escape, so they work together to cut down guards in their way as they flee the port. Evading capture behind a wall of fire, they begin traveling home when Oishi gives a half-hearted apology for not believing Kai's story about the witch. They make up and find their men bathing by a river where their commander says that it's time to betray the shogun's orders and join him in avenging their master. Despite it making them all criminals in the process, they happily agree and plan an invasion of Kira's castle with a rather detailed map. The only one not happy with the situation's Yasuno, who questions why the half-breed rides with samurai, but he's reminded that none of them are anymore. Oishi sends one man Isogai to scout ahead and locate Kira, while another Hazama goes with him and takes his sword for protection. The rest travel to a nearby village of swordmakers looking for weapons, but the place is destroyed and now under the control of Kira's men. They pretend to be humble farmers in search of tools, but a soldier can tell Chikara has never worked labor by his hands. Just then Kai grabs one of their swords, and with only slight assistance from Oishi he pretty much kills the whole party by himself. They then strip the bodies of their swords, but needing even more, Kai suggests they visit the temple of mystical beings called Tengus. They're the ones who raised and taught Kai to fight, as well as left the marks on his head we saw on the day he fled their temple. It's hidden inside a haunted bamboo forest where the Ronin are made to wait while Kai and Oishi enter to find the Tengu in the middle of prayer. Oishi's told not to draw his weapon regardless of what happens, while Kai goes to speak with the Tengu lord about swords for the Ronin. His former master tells him to simply take the one between them if he's capable, and begins to taunt Kai about falling for a girl that he can never have. Meanwhile, Oishi waits with the other Tengu when the rest of the Ronin enter to make sure he's okay, and the foolish Yasuno draws his sword. All of the monks suddenly attack with their ability to teleport in a cloud of smoke, but never once does the leader draw his weapon and just watches his men die. Having learned it when he was a child, Kai uses the same power to retrieve the sword, impressing his teacher that he still remembers it. Not even when his own son's about to die does Oishi draw his sword, and Kai returns to tell him that it was all just an illusion and he passed the test. They've been granted the superpowered swords they need to take back Akko, and all of the Ronin are safe, but it appears that Basho may have gotten a broken blade. They regroup with Hazama, who's told to keep Oishi's sword as he has an even better one now, while Isogai has located their target and leads the Ronin to a shrine where Kira comes to regularly pray. Stealthily they cut their way through the guards surrounding him, but have walked into an ambush as the witch seduced Isogai to lure them there, then burns him alive with her magic. She then kills multiple Ronin while Kira's bowmen shoot down more, and the Lovecraftian samurai enters to kill Hazama with a single swing. Yasuno's knocked unconscious by a horse, and when Basho tries to carry him out of there he takes a fatal amount of arrows to the back, but the surviving Ronin manage to escape. On his deathbed, Basho confesses to Kai that he would throw stones at him as a child, but Kai already knows because he could see his belly sticking out from behind the trees. Basho apologizes before dying, and it's a sad moment as Oishi speaks about the regret he's feeling for not attacking Kira the moment Asano was murdered. The death brings Kai and Yasuno together, who gives the half-breed Basho sword, saying that a real samurai always carries around two. After the slaughter, Mizuki finds Oishi's sword and thinks that he was the masked Ronin that died wielding it, so she returns to Kira to tell him the good news. She then brags to Mika that Kai's dead, and since she was ordered not to harm Kira's future wife, she leaves her a blade, hoping that Mika will use it on herself. Before the Ronin make their final stand, they sign their names on a scroll and mark it with their blood to commemorate the moment, but Kai only has the one symbol and no other titles. Oishi declares them the 47 Ronin, and they sneak into Kira's fortress with a group of entertainers while the majority of them scale the walls outside. Kira and Mika's wedding's about to begin, and while the whole village is distracted by Oishi's performance on stage, the Ronin make their way through, taking out the guards. They pull off a maneuver where a line of Kira's soldiers are yanked right out of their armor with rope darts and instantly replaced by Ronin imposters. Oishi's delivered his sword and approaches Kira, but one of the guards shrugs off his attacker and fires an arrow before Chikara can shoot him with his own. It hits the assassin, revealing his identity, and a full-scale battle ensues where the Ronin attempt to get at Kira, but he's now protected all the way back to his residence. The witch turns into a blanket and flees, while the Ronin don't give a damn about hitting Mika with crossfire and just shoot at Kira's vanguard. The terrified lord then orders the Lovecraftian samurai to shield them from the approaching Ronin, but one uses a bomb to blow the big guy to pieces. Once inside, Mika pulls out the blade Mizuki gave her and swipes it at Kira, allowing her to run one way while he the other when the Ronin enter. Oishi and Kai cut through the guards and split up when Kira tries to sneak attack Oishi through a wall, but he's a rather helpless fighter. He does no damage at all and is beaten like a ragdoll before Oishi tells him that he now knows the depth of Asano's courage and kills him the same way, complete with decapitation. Kai catches up and reunites with Mika when Mizuki returns for her own revenge and takes the form of a large serpent-like dragon that breathes fire. It's deflected by the power of the sword, and Kai battles the witch in a much tougher fight than Oishi had, where Mizuki nearly kills him numerous times. Kai's able to prevent her from landing anything too harming, so when he's briefly disarmed, Mizuki decides to hit him where it hurts and targets Mika. Using his Tengu ability, Kai quickly retrieves the sword and drives it into the witch's head, saving the girl and killing Mizuki, who reverts back into her human form. Oishi ends the fighting between the clans by producing Kira's severed head before the crowd, and all of his men kneel to the victors. Kai and Mika rejoin him before the Ronin return to their village Akko, where Riku gets to see her husband for a second time this year, but it's short-lived. They visit Lord Asano's grave to show respect, having avenged his death and allowed him to rest in peace before accepting their punishment from the shogun. For killing a lord they should be hanged, but he allows them all to commit seppuku like a samurai to keep their honor for stamping out the treachery. Oishi cries he's so happy to go out like Asano, and Kai shares one last moment with Mika before he gets put to death. He promises to find her in the next life, and they share a kiss before the ceremony takes place and the reinstituted samurai are dressed in their white robes. Before they commence, the shogun calls Chikara out from the crowd and allows him to live so that the country isn't denied Oishi's bloodline. They prepare themselves while Mika and Kai look at each other for one last time as he plunges the blade into his stomach and it fades to black. The narrator tells us that the legend of the 47 Ronin is one of Japan's greatest examples of honor, and every December 14th people gather at their graves to pay respects. And the movie ends.